living alone in a cramped Portland apartment that always smells faintly of rain and stale coffee. I've spent the last decade building a dream, $1 at a time. My name is Mia, and for 10 grueling years, I've worked as a nurse, pulling double shifts, skipping vacations, and living paycheck to paycheck, all while hiding away $180,000 in savings. It wasn't just money. It was hope, a lifeline to my future clinic where I could care for people on my terms. But dreams are fragile things, aren't they? Especially when someone you trust more than yourself decides to shatter them. Jake, my older brother by 2 years, was once my protector. When Mom died of cancer when I was 12, he became my world, my shield against bullies, my confidant during sleepless nights, and the one who promised we'd always stick together. That promise feels like a cruel joke now. The same Jake who held me as kids while Mom's casket lowered has transformed into something unrecognizable, a shadow of greed wearing his face. Beneath his crooked grin lies a man willing to betray everything for selfish gain. The cracks began showing subtly. At first, an offhand comment about how family shares, or a glance too quick when I mentioned my clinic plans over beers. But deep down, I refused to believe it. How could the person who taught me resilience turn around and exploit my trust? Little did I know, betrayal doesn't announce itself with fireworks. It creeps in quietly, like mold spreading under wallpaper. And soon enough, the foundation of everything I had built would crumble beneath me. Ellie's wedding was the kind of day that made you believe in happily ever afters. The air buzzed with laughter under twinkling string lights, white roses spilling from vases, and the faint hum of music weaving through the crowd. I danced with Max, Jake's awkward but sweet son, his gangly limbs tripping over themselves as he laughed. Layla hugged me tightly, her sharp perfume lingering long after she pulled away. And Jake slung an arm around my shoulders, pulling me close. "You're glowing, sis," he whispered, his crooked grin flashing beneath the soft glow of lanterns. But something about his smile felt off, like a crack running through polished glass. I couldn't put my finger on it then, but now I see it clearly. That grin wasn't pride, it was calculation. Earlier in the evening, when I gushed to him about my clinic plans over cake, he'd seemed distracted, brushing crumbs off his suit jacket while muttering to Layla behind a beer bottle. At the time, I chalked it up to him being hungover or preoccupied. But looking back, every glance he avoided, every muttered word, was a thread unraveling the fabric of trust I'd woven around him for decades. The real chill came later, though, during what should have been one of the happiest nights of Ellie's life. As guests mingled near the dessert table, I overheard Layla and Dan speaking in hushed tones by the bar. Their voices were low, urgent, almost conspiratorial. "Just wait for the right moment," Dan said, his tone laced with something I couldn't quite place. Excitement? Nervousness? Whatever it was, it sent a shiver down my spine. When they noticed me standing nearby, their conversation halted abruptly, replaced by forced smiles and hollow pleasantries. That night, as Jake drove me home, I replayed those words in my head. The right moment. What did they mean? Was it just harmless chatter, or was there something darker lurking beneath? Sitting in the passenger seat, I glanced at Jake's profile illuminated by the dashboard lights. His hands gripped the wheel tightly, knuckles pale. For the first time, I wondered if the brother who once shielded me from bullies could ever become someone I needed protection from. It was a Thursday evening, the kind where Portland's rain tapped insistently against my apartment window, when I noticed it. My savings, $180,000 earned through years of sacrifice and sleepless nights, was gone, vanished. The screen on my phone blinked coldly at me, mocking my disbelief with an empty balance. Zero. My heart stuttered as if someone had punched me in the chest. Panic clawed its way up my throat, but I forced myself to breathe, to think. I called Jake immediately, my hands trembling so hard I nearly dropped the phone. He picked up after 3 rings, his tone casual, almost bored. "Hey sis, what's up?" As if he didn't already know. I cut straight to it, my voice shaking despite my best efforts to sound calm. "Jake, my money's gone, all of it. What happened?" There was a pause, just long enough for dread to settle in my stomach like lead. Then he spoke, his voice smooth and chillingly detached. "Relax, Mia. I borrowed it. You'll get it back." Borrowed. The word hit me like ice water. "You didn't ask me." I snapped, pacing my tiny kitchen. The fluorescent light buzzed overhead, casting harsh shadows across the room. I felt sick, violated. This wasn't borrowing. This was theft. Jake interrupted, his tone sharpening slightly. Don't make this complicated, okay? It's not gone forever. We needed a boost, for Max's future, you know. His words were slippery, designed to guilt-trip me into silence. But then came the dagger, delivered with practiced nonchalance. You'll be fine, Mia. Don't make things harder than they need to be. The call ended abruptly, leaving me dizzy with rage and disbelief. Desperate for answers, I dove deeper into my banking app, scrolling through alerts I'd ignored earlier. That's when I saw it. A $50,000 commercial lease opened under my name. My breath hitched. Not only had Jake stolen my life savings, but he'd also saddled me with debt I never agreed to. My vision blurred as tears threatened to spill over. How could he do this? To me? To us? For years, I trusted him implicitly, shared my dreams with him, believed in his promises. Now, that trust felt like ashes in my mouth. Every memory we'd built together, the laughter, the late-night talks, the unspoken bond, twisted into something bitter and broken. I sank onto my couch, clutching my knees to my chest, trying to steady my breathing. But there was no solace, only the suffocating weight of betrayal pressing down on me. As the pieces of Jake's betrayal began to fall into place, the depth of their deceit became horrifyingly clear. Layla wasn't just complicit. She was the architect of this charade, weaving lies so seamlessly they almost looked like truth. Her Instagram feed told a story far removed from reality. Designer handbags dangling off her arm, champagne flutes clinking under soft lighting, and captions dripping with faux gratitude. Living my best life, she wrote beneath a photo of herself at a spa, her manicured nails gleaming. The irony stung. I'd skipped meals for years to save that money, only for her to fritter it away on pedicures and steak dinners. But Layla's cruelty ran deeper than extravagance. She weaponized me as trust, pretending concern while exploiting her reputation. At work, colleagues whispered about how generous I was, gifting Jake a fortune. Layla had spun those rumors herself, planting seeds through Tom, Jake's high school crony. Family first, she'd say sweetly when questioned, all while siphoning funds into her personal accounts. My name became a smokescreen for their greed, my hard-earned savings fueling their facade of success. Then there was Dan, the puppet master hiding in plain sight. Through Sam's digging, I uncovered his role as the ringleader of multiple crowdfunding scams. Posing as champions of community kitchens, they preyed on strangers' goodwill, raising $30,000 under false pretenses. The Taco Titan truck? A mirage. There were no permits, no equipment, just a rusty van gathering dust in Jake's garage. Meanwhile, Dan funneled the stolen cash into shell PayPal accounts, some linked to aliases Jake didn't even bother to disguise properly. Their arrogance was staggering. They believed no one would look too closely. What struck me hardest was the calculated precision of it all. This wasn't a spur-of-the-moment grab. It was a well-oiled machine designed to exploit every ounce of vulnerability. Max, Jake's son, remained oblivious, waving goodbye to me during one visit as if nothing was wrong. How could Jake involve him, however indirectly, in something so vile? And yet, the answer was painfully obvious. Greed doesn't discriminate. It consumes everything and everyone in its path. The hospital, once my sanctuary, became a minefield of whispers. Jake and Tom's lies spread like wildfire, twisting my generosity into arrogance. Mia gave her brother a fortune, someone posted in the staff chat. Guess she's too good for us now. The comments piled on. She's been acting unstable lately, one nurse chimed in. My hands trembled as I scrolled through the thread, each word a dagger slicing deeper into my already fragile resolve. Then came the emergency meeting, a spectacle orchestrated to humiliate me further. As I stood before my colleagues, faces etched with suspicion, I felt stripped bare. Mia, my charge nurse began, her tone clipped. There are concerns about your financial decisions affecting morale here. Can you explain? Her question hung in the air like a noose. I wanted to scream, to tell them the truth. That Jake stole everything, that I was fighting to reclaim what little remained of my life. But Sam's voice echoed in my mind. Stay calm. Let them hang themselves. Instead, I forced a tight smile. It's family drama, nothing more. I'm handling it. The room buzzed with murmurs. Some nodded, but others exchanged glances laced with doubt. One doctor muttered loud enough for me to hear, "Rich people problems." His words stung worse than any insult because they weren't just mocking my supposed wealth. They were erasing my years of sacrifice. Later, in the break room, I overheard two nurses laughing. "She doesn't even need this job," one said. "Why is she still here?" Humiliation burned hot in my chest, a second betrayal cutting deeper than the first. Jake didn't just take my money. He dismantled my reputation, brick by bloody brick. Every patient I'd cared for, every late-night shift I'd pulled, reduced to gossip fodder. That night, I stared at my reflection in the bathroom mirror, tears streaming down my face. This wasn't just about money anymore. It was about identity. Who was I if not Mia, the hardworking nurse who gave everything to help others? Jake had turned me into someone unrecognizable, even to myself. I couldn't wait anymore. The rage inside me had boiled over, and I drove to Jake's house unannounced, my evidence folder trembling on the passenger seat like a ticking time bomb. When I arrived, the garage door was open, revealing the Taco Titan truck, or what they called a truck. It wasn't shiny or new. It was a rusted, logo-less shell of metal, sitting there like a cruel joke. My stomach churned as I stepped closer. No kitchen equipment, no branding, just an old van that smelled faintly of oil and neglect. Jake was inside, sprawled on the couch with Layla, sipping beer like nothing was wrong. "Where's my money?" I demanded, voice sharp enough to cut glass. Jake barely glanced at me, his smirk widening. "It's ours now, Mia. Family shares, remember? You'll see profits eventually." Layla chimed in, her tone dripping with venom. "You're too selfish to get it, Mia. Always have been." Her words hit like shards of ice, but it was the laughter from both of them that made my fists clench. In my fury, I stormed toward the hallway, searching for answers. That's when I noticed the red light blinking, a security camera system installed above the doorway. My breath hitched. They'd recorded everything, every lie, every taunt, every smug grin. Without realizing it, I triggered the recording myself when I entered. Back in the living room, I stared at them, my mind racing. This footage wasn't just proof, it was a weapon. Jake leaned back, oblivious, while Layla scrolled through her phone, flaunting photos of spa days funded by my savings. The audacity burned hotter than their betrayal. As I left, clutching the USB drive Sam later extracted from the footage, I felt something shift inside me. Jake thought I was powerless, but he underestimated how far I'd go to reclaim my life. Every frame of that video would become a nail in his coffin. The knock came like thunder, sharp, sudden, and merciless. I stood frozen as two investigators marched into Jake's house, their badges gleaming under the harsh overhead light. Layla was the first to react, bolting for the back door in a panic. Her heels caught on the rug, and she went down hard, collapsing onto the cold tile floor. She scrambled to her knees, breaths coming in ragged gasps, but it was too late. The officers were already there, pulling her up by the arms. Jake, still clutching his beer bottle, looked like a man watching his life crumble in slow motion. His face drained of color, eyes wide with disbelief. "This is a misunderstanding," he stammered, voice trembling. But no one was listening. Dan lunged for the laptop on the coffee table, fingers flying over the keyboard in a desperate attempt to delete files. An investigator grabbed him mid-motion, slamming the laptop shut before he could finish. The room became chaos, shouts, protests, Layla sobbing hysterically, but I stayed silent, my gaze fixed on Jake. This wasn't the brother who once shielded me from bullies. This was a stranger wearing his face. They hauled out laptops, phones, and stacks of fake invoices, the Taco Titan mirage reduced to scraps of lies. One officer held up a PayPal account printout, shaking his head. "These are linked to other scams," he said grimly. When Jake tried to explain, his voice cracked under the weight of the evidence. "It was just a mistake, a bad decision," he pleaded, but even he couldn't sell that lie anymore. My recording played loud and clear, his smug confession about spreading rumors at work, the forged lease in my name. It all tied together like a noose tightening around his neck. As they led them out, handcuffs clicking into place, I felt something shift inside me. Vengeance wasn't sweet, it was heavy, exhausting. But justice? That felt like oxygen after drowning. The courtroom buzzed with tension as Jake took the stand, his suit rumpled and his face pale. He pointed a trembling finger at Layla, his voice cracking. She made me do it. She manipulated everything. Layla, meanwhile, crumpled into sobs, mascara streaking her cheeks, pleading for mercy. I didn't know it would go this far, she wailed, clutching her hands to her chest like a tragic actress. But Dan sat stone-faced, arms crossed, his lips curled into a sneer, as if the entire legal system was beneath him, a mere inconvenience to swat away. Then came the recording. The prosecutor pressed play, and Jake's smug voice filled the silent room. Mia won't notice. She's too busy playing hero at work. The words hung in the air like smoke, heavy and suffocating. My stomach churned as I relived every lie, every betrayal. The courtroom fell deathly still. Even the judge leaned forward, pin frozen midair. Jake's eyes darted to mine, wide and desperate. Mia, please, he mouthed, his voice silent, but his plea clear. For a moment, something flickered inside me. Guilt, maybe, or pity. Then I remembered the nights I'd spent staring at my bank account, wondering how I'd survive. I thought of Max, confused and hurt because of his choices. And I hardened. Slowly, deliberately, I turned my gaze away from him. Layla's crying grew louder, almost theatrical, but no one was listening anymore. The evidence spoke louder than her tears. Dan shifted uncomfortably, his arrogance faltering as the prosecutor revealed the fake crowdfunding scams tied to his name. It was over. When the judge finally delivered their verdict, fraud, identity theft, conspiracy, I felt nothing. No satisfaction, no relief. Just emptiness. Jake stared at me as they let him out, handcuffs clicking into place. He wasn't my brother anymore. He was a ghost I'd buried deep, just like Mom. The courtroom emptied, but the weight of justice pressed down on me like a storm cloud. Jake was sentenced to 3 years, Layla too, and Dan's charges were piling up. Yet, as I stood outside in the cold Portland air, freedom felt hollow. The $50,000 lease they forged in my name still loomed over me, a debt that wasn't mine but now chained me. My credit score, once pristine at 750, had plummeted to 510. Loan applications were rejected. Even renting an apartment became a battle. The clinic dream I'd clung to for years seemed as distant as the stars hidden behind rain clouds. Desperate, I made the hardest decision yet, selling Mom's house, the only place left untouched by Jake's greed. Realtors swarmed it, their polished smiles unable to mask its scars. The money from the sale barely covered the lease debt and legal fees, leaving me with scraps to rebuild. I bought a tiny condo downtown, its walls bare and unfamiliar, free of ghosts but also warmth. Each night, I stared at the ceiling, replaying every betrayal, every lie. Then came the call, a rainy evening when thunder rattled my windows. Max's voice cracked through the line, trembling with anger and confusion. Why did you do this? You ruined everything. His words hit like hailstones, sharp and unrelenting. I wanted to explain, to tell him how Jake stole not just my money but my trust, my future. But what could I say? He was just a boy caught in his father's wreckage. I'm sorry, Max, I whispered, tears streaming down my face. Silence stretched between us before he hung up, leaving me alone with the storm. That night, I sat by the window, watching rain streak down the glass. I couldn't save Max, not from this. Protecting Jake's family meant sacrificing myself, and I'd already paid too high a price. Forgiveness would have to wait. For now, survival was enough. Months after the courtroom drama, Portland's rain still taps against my window like an old friend reminding me of resilience. The clinic dream, once vibrant and within reach, now feels distant, a flickering candle in a storm. But I'm not the same Mia who sat trembling on her couch, staring at an empty bank account. I've been reborn through fire, forged by betrayal, and tempered by survival. Sam became more than a friend during those dark months. He was my anchor when Jake's lies tried to drown me. You're tougher than they'll ever be, Mia, he said one night, handing me a coffee as we pored over evidence. His belief in me kept me moving forward, even when every step felt like trudging through quicksand. Slowly, I started rebuilding, not just financially, but emotionally. My tiny condo near downtown is quiet, free of ghosts, though memories linger like shadows on the walls. It's a fresh start, imperfect but mine. Max called last week, his voice cracking with guilt. I didn't know, Aunt Mia. I'm sorry. His words cut deep, but I understood. He was collateral damage in Jake's chaos. I told him I believed him, but forgiveness isn't something I can offer yet. Not to Jake. Forgiveness, I realized, isn't about absolving others. It's about freeing yourself. So, I locked it away, choosing instead to focus on what matters: healing. Opening a clinic again seems impossible now, with my credit score still bruised and savings depleted. But impossibility has never stopped me before. Every late-night shift at the hospital reminds me why I started this journey: to help people, to make a difference. My dream may take longer to build this time, but it will rise, brick by bloody brick, guarded fiercely like the treasure it is. What I learned from all of this is that family isn't blood, it's choice. Jake wasn't just my brother. He was my protector, my confidant, the person I trusted above all else. Losing him felt like losing a part of myself. Yet, in his absence, I found new bonds: Sam's unwavering support, Ellie's quiet strength, even patience whose gratitude reminded me why I fight so hard. These connections, built on trust and authenticity, are what truly define family. As I sip Sam's coffee tonight, watching rain streak down the glass, I think of Mom's words: family is what you make it. Jake tried to erase me, to reduce me to nothing more than a resource. But he failed. I chose to rise, to rebuild, to reclaim my identity. And though the road ahead is long, I walk it with purpose. Throwing away bitterness doesn't mean excusing betrayal. It means refusing to let it define me. For the first time in years, I feel alive.